Today on the Mr. Maple podcast, Matt and Tim count down the top 50 maples sold at Mr. Maple in 2023. 50 through 26.
Konnichiwa, y'all, and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. I'm Matt. This is my brother, Tim, and we do a weekly talk show about Japanese maples. If you like that kind of thing, make sure to like, subscribe, and share our videos. We put them on YouTube, but we're also on every major podcast platform.
So we do this weekly podcast thing, the Mr. Maple Show, and we also do the daily YouTube thing. Check us out. Subscribe to us there as well. And guys, shop with us on MrMaple.com. We're a family mail order business. We specialize in Japanese maples. We do over 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples and ship them directly to your door. So check us out, MrMaple.com.
Hey, we also got some cool new merch. So if you guys want to buy some hats or t-shirts or things like that, definitely check out our new merch store. A lot of people ask for some of the Maple Mafia hats and Mr. Maple Show hats we've been wearing in some of our episodes. So those things are on MrMaple.com now. All right, well, let's get into it. So one of our most popular podcasts last year was the top 25 Japanese maples sold at MrMaple.com in 2022. In fact, I think it's our best podcast on YouTube. You guys loved it. It's a little bit of industry insider information. We're opening up. We're giving y'all full disclosure here, and we're showing you a little bit behind the curtain here. These are going to be the top 50 Japanese maples we sold in 2023.
So these are the top 50 Japanese maples. You know, this list is made by you purchasing trees on MrMaple.com. You know, we will throw out the disclosure that, you know, some of these trees may have been higher if we would have had more of these available on Mr. Maple. But this year we've had the highest inventory on a lot of these varieties that we've ever had.
So it makes it the most accurate it's ever been, too. These really are the people's champion. These are the choices that people made. Now, also, this list is the top 50. That may sound like a lot of trees to a lot of you, because a lot of nurseries, quite frankly, are going to only have 25 varieties or 50 varieties available the entire year. You know, not to toot our own horn, but to also explain what this is, guys. We've had over 800 different Japanese maples listed in 2023 on MrMaple.com. That's 800 different cultivars plus.
That's a darn lot of Japanese maples.
That's a lot. Now, to make the top 50, that's pretty special. I mean, these are the top of the top that you guys chose in 2023. And again, it's that little bit behind the curtain. We like to kind of open up to you guys on this channel, give you some interesting information. These are the top trees that other people were buying on our website. You may see some new trees you don't know about. You'll also be like, why was that so popular? But you know, full disclosure, some things we may have had 200 of, some things we may have had 1,000 of. So if we only had 200 of it, it couldn't beat the thing we had 1,000 of. But it's also interesting because those are trees we've chosen to produce more of. So all around, I think it makes it for a very interesting list. And it's probably why it was one of our most popular videos or our most popular podcasts in 2022. Yeah, that one blew up.
I mean, if you just like Japanese maples, we're talking about 50 different Japanese maples. I mean, if you don't even care about the numbers, and then you're like, wow, people really, really like some of these ones in the top 50. Think about it, because these are cool plants that you should think about having in your garden. All right, guys, let's jump into number 50. We got number 50. We've got Acer palmatum, Katsura.
Oh, Katsura. Glad to see this make the list. Always popular. It's that first harbinger of spring. You know, Katsura comes out with some bold oranges with yellows to it. It's a great plant. I often want to remind people to think of this one kind of like they do DeSojo. Like, Katsura would be a great bonsai as well. It's just going to give you more yellow tones. It's got a smaller overall leaf. Makes a great large size tree in the landscape as well. And just exceptional all around.
Now, Katsura is a reoccurring, you see this on a lot of other species too. I mean, there's Pieris japonica Katsura. People often refer to Cerstophyllum japonicum as the Katsura tree. What we're talking about here is the Japanese maple Acer palmatum Katsura. And it is, to me, one of it's one of the most fun trees, because every spring I'm sitting there and I'm just waiting for trees to leaf out. I'm just waiting for something to those leaves to come back. And then all of a sudden, there it is, Katsura.
Yeah, it's that harbinger of spring. It's that reminder that, hey, while we garden, I mean, you sit there and wait. it's like conifer people don't have any patience. We gotta have a little patience when you're a Japanese maple person. You gotta sit there and dream about spring a little bit. But Katsura, one of those first things to reward you every year. All right, guys. Now coming in here at number 49, we've got a Buckholz introduction, Acer palmatum Ilarion. Now, Ilarion was found at Buckholz Nursery by a young man named Ilarion. Talon thought very fondly of this guy. And he has many trees around his nursery that are from seed, but not necessarily cultivars. So there's seedlings that he has called Rising Stars. And so there's always cool things around this nursery, and sometimes things that should be in the trade. And so he kind of challenged some of his workers to go around and find something interesting one day. And this young man, who was also a Rising Star, Ilarion, he really liked this guy a lot, found this tree and brought it to him. He said, okay, I'm going to name this one after you. Beautiful tree. Now, what I like most about Ilarion, it's basically one of the most white forms of an Arita no Nishiki style. So you get a ton of white variegation.
Yeah, it's one of the most white Arita no Nishiki styles. You're going to need to give it some protection from the hot afternoon sun, especially in the hotter climates. It can have leaves that are completely white with a little bit of green, and you wonder, sometimes, is this a green Japanese maple with white variegation or a white Japanese maple with some green in it? Because it is exceptional when it comes to that variegation. To me, this tree is outstanding on all forms. We got this tree in a box from Talon Buckholz. It was one of those gifts that arrived, and we're like, what in the world? Mind blown. I've never seen something so white before. And it's one of those trees that, say you did over fertilize it or you did fertilize and you get a lot of green in it. Don't worry. Give it a light pruning. It's an Arita no Nishiki style. It doesn't revert. That white will come on the next flush of growth.
All right, coming in here at number 48, we've got another Talon Buckholz introduction, and you can expect to see a lot on there. Talon has some of the greatest introductions out there. We purchased Buckholz Nursery this year. We've been making more and more of his introductions available on MrMaple.com than ever before. At number 48, we've got Acer palmatum Yellow Cascade.
Yeah, Yellow Cascade, that is a really nice weeping butter yellow Japanese maple. It's in that Ryusen kind of style and that Nakakomoto weeping lineage. And it just has that heavily cascading habit, a little bit larger leaf with the butter yellow color.
I would say this one first became available, around the trade in 2022 more, but it really in 2023 hit its stride. I think a lot of people realized all those different variances that were going on Ryusei styles, and they just got more and more popular this year. This one, actually had some pretty big numbers in this, so it's cool to see it this high, and one we're going to keep doing for sure. Acer palmatum Yellow Cascade.
Yeah, it's really cool whenever we got to go see the original Yellow Cascade. It was sitting there at Buckholz Nursery right beside the Golden Falls, and you can really tell the difference between the two. I mean, it's shocking. We did a cultivar highlight where you can compare the original Golden Falls and the original Yellow Cascade side by side. And, there's stark differences between the two. That butter yellow and Yellow Cascade, it's exceptional.
Yeah, and that leaf size is going to really distinguish it a lot from Dragon Master and the Golden Falls. Yellow Cascade has a much larger all-around leaf. Really a great plant, and I think one that's caught a little bit of popularity, but it hadn't really reached its full potential yet.
So coming in here at number 47, we've got Acer japonicum, Mei Kujaku, the Dancing Peacock.
Oh, great plant. This one has so many different names. You'll see this one out there in the trade. It can be a bit confusing. Same plant as Aconita folium, same plant as Dancing Peacock. We believe Mei Kujaku to be the most correct name. I've even seen this one sold under the name Fernleaf, which I hate, but great plant. And surprising to see it so low. I think this was another case of, had we had a few more shots, it might have even gotten higher. Traditionally, I think of this one in our top 25.
I remember we were at a plant conference years ago, and the guy that was in charge of the plant conference came up and saw our lace leaf Japanese maples and said, "Boy, you've got some pretty ferns." And I was like, "What in the world?"
Yeah, that was a little cringy.
That's probably the reason why I think fern leaf, I'm like, that sounds horrible. That sounds like the worst name ever for a Japanese maple. But it is a name it has been known under. I do prefer Mei Kujaku, which translates as the Dancing Peacock.
Awesome plant, though. One of our favorite fall color Japanese maples. I mean, you get reds, yellows, and oranges all on this one at the same time. It's not uncommon for this one to be one of the boldest shades of orange with accents of red in it. It's truly a gorgeous plant. Mei Kujaku, though, one of our most popular Acer japonicums. It's always at the top of the list, and surprising to see it this far down here at this time. But again, there's no misses here. I mean, this is out of 800 plus trees, so these are all extremely popular. All these trees are really high in sales for us to be on this list. And Mei Kujaku, it's always one that is highly sought after when it's in stock.
It has that larger japonicum leaf. The leaves are a little more divided. I kind of get where they get the fern leaf because it does have a little more serrated edges to it. But I mean, stay away from that. It looks like a peacock displaying its fall colors, displaying its feathers when it's in fall color. Better
describe it by an animal than another plant. It's like, oh, that's a palm leaf, or, that just doesn't.
And
an oak leaf maple. That's animal, right?
But the dancing peacock's one of our favorite japonicums, and it's one of your favorite japonicums as well, clearly. I mean, the fall color is exceptional. In the springtime, when the tassel flowers hang down in the early spring as the leaves are coming out, the red tassel flowers contrast so well against the green foliage. I mean, it's an outstanding tree. It gives a consistent fall color each and every year as well. Often, I've learned that this one will change based on the timing of the day. So how much time is in a day, which shrinks going into the fall, instead of the actual cold weather coming in. So you get a very consistent fall color each and every year with the Dancing Peacock Japanese Maple.
All right, let's keep moving along here. At number 46, we've got our first of the Ghost series. We've got Sister Ghost. So another Talon Buckholz introduction. Always popular, guys. Sister Ghost. That Ghost series is amazing. We plan on, through Buckholz Nursery and through Mr. Maple, continue to make the entire Ghost series available. So some of those even harder to find ones are going to be hitting that list. And in higher numbers, we want you to be able to purchase the entire Ghost series in one setting, and all here at Mr. Maple. And that's something we're going to be doing for sure. Sister Ghost, man, I love this one. It's underrated as far as ghosts go.
Creamy white serrated leaves with green veins that etch throughout each and every leaf give this tree an eerie appearance. It's no wonder why it's got a ghost name to it. They call that a reticulated variegation in Europe. In America, it's often referred to as a ghost type. One, this is Sister Ghost, but two, it has that reticulated style variegation that the Ghost series has made so famous.
I kind of like it. I steer into the Ghost. I like it. I ain't afraid of no ghost. These things are awesome. They're great. They really bring it. And you know what? If it's something that makes people associate Japanese maples with, I'm all for that. Like, I want people to remember Japanese maples. I want it to stand out to them. And your average gardener is going to hear this is a ghost, and it's going to, that's something they're going to remember. It looked cool. That style variegation's a ghost variegation. Yeah, let's do it. I'm here for it. An amazing plant, though, Sister Ghost. Great fall colors, great durability. No shocker to see it as high as 46.
I think the ghost types grab people's attention because you can literally see the intricacies of every part of the leaf. The green veins that are so prominent and go throughout each and every part of the leaf, they just contrast so well against that creamy foliage that it becomes something that you're like, man, this thing is next level. I mean, it's got all this stuff going on in one leaf, and then you've got so many leaves on a tree. It just draws you in because it's a piece of living art.
All right, y'all, coming in here at number 45, we've got Acer palmatum Shana. Now, go back and watch that Billy Shorts Experience podcast we did. We've talked about it a lot. One of my favorite.
Joe Frazier throwing the fight.
Right, it's so crazy. That was Muhammad Ali throwing the fight with Joe Frazier. But yeah, one of my favorite all-time podcasts we've done. I don't think he gets enough love on the views there. So Billy is a force of nature. Go check that podcast out. Shana is actually a tree that Dick Wolf named for Billy Short's daughter, named Shana. So really cool tree. Great colors to it. It's got everything you want in a fiery red dwarf.
Yeah, it is such an awesome plant. The name Shana is Hebrew for beautiful, and this is a beautiful red Japanese maple that gives you some good maroon colors during the summer, some good red flushes of new growth over top of that, and some bright oranges to reds in the fall. As a red dwarf Japanese maple, this thing is amazing.
Great for the container garden. Great for anywhere you want a small area Japanese maple. Now, this one was found as a broom on the University of Villanova's campus there at the Department of Public Safety. If you ever want to go see the original, it's still in the tree. It's about 6.5 to 8 feet up, somewhere in that range. Probably about 8 feet, because I kind of had to jump a little bit to get some of those trimmings. But yeah, it's a beautiful tree there.
I know the Department of Public Safety was laughing their butts off. It was raining that day. Matt and I were out there visiting. We were going out handing cards out to the people inside and saying, hey, can we shoot some stuff outside? Oh, yeah. And then they just keep doing shift changes. So police officers keep coming and going. And we went through a billion cards because there are these two tree geeks jumping up in the air, trying to take trimmings off the original Shana. It's just barely out of reach. We're shooting videos with this thing in the rain. I mean, you know that we're tree geeks because we're doing this.
Awesome plant. Yeah. And one that just has a place in history. So
coming in at number 44, we've got Acer palmatum Ki Hachijo.
Great plant, y'all. This one is one of my favorite all-time fall color plants. Kihachijo goes through yellows and later some phases of yellowy orange with kind of accents of orange over top of the yellow. An amazing plant with a very unique star-like leaf shape. It's got a very divided leaf, very large leaf sometimes as it matures, and a real spreading shape to Kihachijo as it gets mature too. It's a great plant. Underutilized. People probably underthink about this one because it's a green, but it's one you got to have in your landscape.
I know that mom and dad have one at the rental house where I lived for a while, Matt lived for a while, right across from where he lives now. When it goes into the fall color, it just captivates you. And it's one of those trees that when it's in fall color, the way it infuses two different colors at the same times of the yellows and orange, it's really distinguishable from many other cultivars. In fact, when we were at the Washington Park Arboretum at their Japanese gardens, they've got a gorgeous one right out there. And you can see this thing in fall color and be like, man, that Kihachijo is gorgeous. And people were like, how do you know what that tree was? It wasn't labeled. I'm like, because do you see the fall color?
Oh, yeah.
Only Kihachijo does it that way.
Oh, it's so amazing. Another one, too, that we've talked about this before, but Brian Upchurch, we bought Highland Creek Nursery in 2013. He always said that this is a very popular one in Japan for seeds. And we've heard that from a lot of other places. A lot of other people have told us since then, even when we're traveling in Japan, that people like to go through the seeds from Kihachijo because you'll get a lot of diversity in the seeds from this one tree. You'll get lace leaves, you'll get uprights, you'll get variegated plants. So we don't know quite what it is about Kihachijo, but it's a fun one. And we like to pass that kind of insider knowledge along to our listeners at any time. We hope that when you find something really cool, you'll consider letting us craft it and evaluate it here at Mr. Maple as well.
And, you know, it when I see something like that, it makes me wonder, like, is this tree just open for pollination for a longer period of time? Or is that genetic diversity in Kihachijo itself? And that's something we don't really know. If you ever do some tests and can figure that out, that'd be awesome. But the cool thing is you can get cool trees from the seedlings from Kihachijo. I mean, that's killer.
All right, guys, number 43. We got Peve starfish. Now, this is a great plant introduced by Piet Vergelt. The Vergelt family there in Holland has a lot of cool plants. We got to meet Tijn Vergelt a couple years ago when he came and visited. That's Piet Vergelt's son. Just really nice guy. And he puts a signature on a lot of the trees with that Piet Vergelt Peve. You'll see it there listed on a lot of plants. It's a home run hitter. This one is a great plant. We often talk about ways to get children into gardening. Associating a plant with a critter is one of the best ways possible if you're a grandparent or a parent that wants to show your kids about gardening. My kids will go back and look at a starfish every single time they're in a garden because they want to see what that starfish is doing. And it brings out the kid in all of us because Peve starfish has that starfish-like leaf. Every little leaf has that curl, and it looks just like red starfish there in the garden.
So this tree, while it was introduced by Piet Vergelt, was actually named by Talon Buchholz. He was visiting Piet Vergelt, and he walked by and was looking at some of Piet Vergelt's coolest stuff and said, hey, that looks like a starfish. And the name stuck. And it is such a really cool plant. I love how the leaves just cup downward and give that starfish-like appearance. It gives a unique texture out there in the landscape. The other thing that's awesome about Peve starfish is it's a good mid-sized upright red Japanese maple. That means that this tree doesn't get as big as your Emperor ones or your blood goods, but it fits in that smaller landscape that everyone has nowadays. The landscape's always shrinking in many people's gardens. You know, instead of having these big, 10-acre lots that a lot of people used to have, now people have, 3/4 of an acre. They have 1/3 of an acre. Peve starfish fits on that so easily, gives you everything you love with unique texture, and the fall color on this is a bright red. So an exceptional tree and needs to be used more.
I've seen it even be like pink red. I mean, it's great in the fall. I love it. It really shows out. It looks like you just turned the color up and just kept going until it just glowed. At some point, I'm going to make me an octopus's garden. I'm going to throw some Peve starfish in there and some coral-looking Japanese maples. I'm going to have the scuba diver's garden right here. I used to scuba dive a lot, so I love scuba. I'm gonna take some starfish. Maybe I'll make me a big, octopus out there in the garden. Put some different Kiyohime types around for coral patterns. Maybe some Hup's dwarf, something like that. Make me a little octopus's garden. Anyway, Peve starfish. You can imagine you're under the sea. My little girls love the little mermaids, so they're always going to come looking at the Peve starfish.
So coming at number 42, we've got one of Matt's favorite of the Ghost series. Sometimes considered Talon's favorite of the Ghost series, Acer Palmatum Amber Ghost.
Hey, we're all allowed to change our opinions. This one, hey, I've consistently said Amber Ghost is my favorite ghost. It is cool. I love the colors it gets. It's just a vibe. That one has a cool look to it. You know what I mean? It just has its own thing going. Amber Ghost really looks like nothing else, and it kind of glows a little bit. It just has something ethereal about it. It has a little extra quality going on in those color patterns, especially in that early spring. Once you've seen an Amber Ghost, you know what that one was. It's indistinguishable from anything else. My favorite member of the Ghost series. You can see why it is, but it's also one that I think once you get in your garden, it'll be a favorite of yours.
Our good friend Pat Dye had a Quail Hollow Gardens, which was a Japanese maple nursery in Alabama, and his tagline was "Ever-changing beauty," which I thought was an excellent tagline. I think that was actually developed the tagline by Dr. Bill Shell.
Yeah, that's something Bill Shell says a lot there.
And Amber Ghost, that describes Amber Ghost so well. I mean, Amber Ghost has that amber hue in the spring, and it is outstanding. And you see the reticulated variegation, and then it starts to fade. You get some really nice shades of green in there. You get some of that amber colors again during the summer, and then the fall color can be that bright orange red. It is an outstanding tree that changes through each and every season, and it has a really nice form, and it's more upright than many of the other Ghost series. It's a strong grower, can actually handle a little bit more sun, so it's one of the most heat tolerant of the Ghost series. This tree, I mean, I'm surprised it's here at 42 because I would have put it much higher if I was choosing my own list.
I think it's sold out a few times. If the numbers were all equal, I think you'd see it higher up on the list for sure, because every time we have it, it does sell out pretty quickly. Now, if I was going to make a tagline for a Pat Dye thing, I would use Pat Dye's quote where he said, "There ain't nothing more American than a Japanese maple."
I know,
That's
right?
always fun. He was a cool guy. I miss him. We have some celebrity customers from time to time, and Pat was one of those fun guys you really got to know and hang out with, and just an all-around great guy.
So coming at number 41, we've got Acer palmatum, Murasaki Kiyohime.
Yeah, this one sells out quickly too, or it'd probably be higher on the list. We bring it back frequently. That's why it's all the way up here at 41. But outstanding plant. This one is durable. It's heat tolerant. Handles the sun even down there in Alabama, like we were mentioned before. I know Bill Shell has a big one in Alabama and it looks great in full sun. Bright purple border, yellowish green eye in the spring. Shows out. Orangey red fall color. All around just a great plant. And also one of those trees that makes more what we like to call a toadstool. So it makes a little mushroom top to it. It doesn't weep, but it makes a low doming canopy.
And this is a tree that's extremely popular for bonsai. It's also great for containers because of its small, compact habit. I know when we would have these in 3-gallon containers at garden shows, we used to load up all of our trees in not tractor trailers, but big, huge trailers.
I don't think we were that big back in the day.
And we'd pull them behind our trucks to different garden shows across the country.
I did have a dually 3500 pulling a 33-foot trailer across the country. So, I mean, we were as big as a tractor trailer sometimes.
But Murasaki Kiyohime in the springtime, if you had a 3-gallon or a 1-gallon, they were gone. They were one of the first trees gone at the garden show because that purple red border around that sort of lime green eye, that chartreuse eye, it looks like a flower for a tree that's not an annual. I mean, it looks like it's a flower as it's leafing out. It is an outstanding tree to add in the garden, especially as a container plant.
Man, I'm glad you guys shop with us online and I don't have to drive all over the dang country anymore. We used to do 30 garden shows plus a year. I'd be driving, a 20-foot truck with a 30-foot trailer behind it. And Tim's like, "Hey, Matt, pull into Taco Bell." You ain't pulling into Taco Bell with a 30-foot trailer. Like, we had to plan our whole day around where we could park. So I'm really glad you guys shop with us mail order. And don't forget, these are your list. These are the trees you picked that we sold the most of the entire year. So coming in here at number 40, we got another dwarf. They're real high on the list. Rhode Island Red.
Y'all, this is a dwarf bloodgood stack. It has that compact habit. It's everything you love about a bloodgood Japanese maple, but in a tighter, compact form. Everybody always has those people that they see, these landscapers, and they take a bloodgood Japanese maple and they start shearing it back, trying to create this little ball. And they create this horrible looking thing because it's cut back. And you see during the winter months when it has no leaves on it, that they've just sheared this thing back with hedge trimmers. I mean, don't do that to a Japanese maple.
It's a maple massacre.
It's a maple massacre. And people will talk about the crepe murder. That's the maple massacre. Don't do it. The Rhode Island Red, it is that compact form. and it stays that.
And it's way more beautiful. It's got a better overall natural shape. Named after the Rhode Island red chicken, kind of the smaller stature. This one has larger leaves like Tim was mentioning, so it mimics bloodgood in the leaf shape and size. So it's got a larger overall leaf for a dwarf tree. Great plant for the container. I mean, I love this one in a big pot. I think it looks perfect because it does globe out. Like this one does want to make a ball shape, and it just looks perfect as that. I mean, put this one out in a conifer area where you want some flash. You want a red Japanese maple, but you don't want an Emperor One or a Bloodgood that's going to get big. You want something that's going to give you bright red colors, bright red fall colors. Rhode Island Red's a perfect candidate for that. I mean, it brings everything you need, but in more of a small globular stature.
Now, it's just a great plant for those small spaces. I first saw this grown in a container at NJ Acer's garden, Ed and Debbie Shin's garden in Wall, New Jersey, and I was like, that is outstanding. They put it in a blue pot, and the blue pot contrasted so well with the red. And then I started seeing Rhode Island Red grown in full sun, where it's a brighter, picked up red. And I'm just like, this is what everybody's looking for, and most people don't even know it yet. It's got that perfect shape, that perfect color, that larger red leaf. Rhode Island Red, it's going to be, I bet that tree is going to start going up higher and higher on our list each and every year.
It wouldn't surprise me to see it even, at the top of the list. It is consistently in our top sales. Now, again, some of these trees suffer from their own popularity. They sell out, and then it takes us a while to get them back in stock. So they're not in stock the entire year long. That one always up there in sales. Now, coming in here at number 39, I like to see our own cooking on the list. That means you guys are liking what we're naming. Love to see it on our list. Looking Glass Falls. Now, this is a weeping Ryusen-style Japanese maple with a purple border in the early spring.
This is a selection that we named after a local waterfall. In Japanese, often with the Japanese, they will name their Japanese maples after local waterfalls in Japan. But we said, hey, we could do that too. And Looking Glass is actually a recurring thing in many names in Japanese when it comes to naming plants. So we said, well, we've got a place over here in Western North Carolina called Looking Glass Falls. And it has this, it's really high up and the waterfall droops straight down. That describes exactly what Looking Glass Falls, the Japanese maple, does. It droops straight down and has that cascading habit, just like a waterfall. And in the early spring, with that purple-red border, looks even more like a looking glass. So we thought this was very aptly named. It's such a fun tree to use, though. I mean, you can stake this tree up, let it cascade straight down, added with that extra spring interest of something like a Murasaki Kiyohime. I mean, this is an outstanding new selection of a Ryusen style.
I love seeing it climb the list. I'm glad you guys are enjoying that one and responding to what it is. I mean, out of 800 trees, to see some of the ones we've named on our list, I think it's super fun. Appreciate you guys supporting the Area 51 collection. We don't make any more money off the Area 51 collection. One guy was like, hey, that hot blonde was at the top of your list just because you named it. This is a paid ad. I'm like, I don't make any more money off hot blonde than I do off of Makawa Yetsubusa. It's just our own opinions. One fun thing about what Tim and I do is we're completely independent at Mr. Maple and at Buckholz Nursery. So we'll always give you our honest opinions on what we think of what we like the most. And yeah, sometimes trees we name, we like them a lot. That's why we named them. So, but we'll always give you the honest opinion on what we think's great, because we're not subject to any big brands telling us to push something.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what pot color we use. We use the color black typically because that's what we order in. There's black pots.
But it's a real thing. A lot of opinions are bought and paid for. So you're always getting an honest opinion here about what Tim and I like. I hope you enjoy that. So coming in here at number 38, surprised to see this one not even higher on the list. It's very popular always. We got the Red Lion Kurenai Jishi.
Y'all, Kurenai Jishi is the red lion's head Japanese maple. Many of y'all may be familiar with Shishigashira, often referred to as the lion's head Japanese maple. And for years, we heard of this mythological plant, the red lion. And we're like, can it be true? Is this something that does actually exist, or is this just a rumor? And then we got a hold of Kurenai Jishi. And guys, it's every bit of the hype. It's got the same twisting leaf as Shishigashira with some really nice red spring color. Now,
our late great friend, Yano-san, who owns World Maple Park, or did there in Japan, such a cool guy. I spent a lot of time walking around talking with him. He was so gracious with his time. The time we visited, we spent several hours, and just a fun guy. He didn't find this as a seedling, but someone brought it to him and he put the name on it. So I love that it has that association with Yano. A lot of fond memories with him, and just a cool plant. Like, it's a great one all around. Pairs obviously with Shishigashira, like Tim was saying, but this one looks great in a container. It looks great in a conifer garden. It just has that it quality. It really, once people see this one, it's one of those plants you have to have. It's very unique and underrated for fall color. The fall colors can rival Shishigashira on fiery orangey reds and yellows. Just an all-around great plant, and one we'll keep offering a ton here at Mr. Maple.
Now, it's described as the red lion head, and I described as spring colors red, but it's not your typical maroon. It's more of a brick red, and that gives this tree something extra out there, contrasts with many of the other Japanese maples. And the stature of this tree is thick and dense, just like the Shishigashira, so it gives this regal presence to a smaller, more dwarf Japanese maple that fits in those small spaces.
Guys, if you're liking this insider information, we're giving you the behind-the-scenes top sales on Japanese maples at Mr. Maple. We're cutting it down for you. A lot of people wouldn't share their top sales with you. If you like that kind of thing, make sure to rate us 5 stars or give us a good Google review. We appreciate you guys, and let's keep going through this list. Number 37, Acer Palmatum Gable's Glory.
Y'all, this is the chameleon Japanese maple, and I didn't come up with that term, but I use it because this tree keeps changing all of its colors each and every part of the season. I mean, it is just unreal the colors this goes through, from a pink red to a yellow. As it matures, it gets to more of a yellow color. Then with that pink red new growth coming across it, it looks unreal. It doesn't look like it could do that. It doesn't look like a leaf could change from that pink red color to that yellow green that it does.
It is a weird tree. It is weird. Like, it looks like nothing else in the whole maple world. Gable's Glory is about as flashy of a plant as you can get. I've had some years where it leafed out orange. It typically gets that yellowish older growth with like purple new growth, but you can have metallic-y red on it as well. I mean, it really just goes through some of the craziest color changes. Every time you think you got this one figured out, it does something a little different.
Now, we got this tree years ago from Del Laux. The same time he was introducing Lillian's Jewel, Cotton Candy, and many of these other plants, he had Gable's Glory. And I said, is that one of your introductions? He said, no, that's Larry Gable's. I had never met Larry Gable, but man, I'm glad he introduced this tree. I mean, who knows if this tree would have gotten lost after then, because I haven't seen it in production in many other places. And we got this tree and grafted the hound out of it because this thing is so unique and different. And with, as many different varieties of Japanese maples as we have, this tree is like none of the others. And it is outstanding. The color changes it goes through, it's going to contrast with everything because, quite frankly, there's nothing else like it.
It is a weirdo in the best possible way. And if you haven't already, check out Gable's Glory. It'll be coming back to Mr. Maple soon. If it's not there, you can always sign up to get notified when items are in stock again via email.
Coming in at number 36, we've got Acer Palmatum Osakazuki.
Oh, sock it to me.
This is a plant that probably didn't make last year's list because we didn't have it in quantity.
Sold out too much last year. Quite frankly, I'm shocked to see it at 36 because we sell the living heck out of this thing. Like, it moves many units every single day at our nursery. So a lot of the items we're talking about from here forward, the whole list, we're shipping multiples of these a day. Or when they're listed, we're selling out of them completely very quickly. Because if it's making the top 36 plants at Mr. Maple for a year, there's a lot of them. And Osakazuki, it is one of the most popular fall color Japanese maples you'll ever see. We have a whole YouTube video where we go and show you a mature specimen in great fall color. One of our top viewed videos. It's one of those over 50K videos for us. Love that thing, man. It is just fire engine red in the fall. It's everything you want in a fall color Japanese maple. Goes from that cool green color to just electric red. Looks like you plugged the tree in. I mean, it looks like you plugged it in. It is insane and consistent. Like, this is one I've seen great fall color in Washington State, in Texas, in South Carolina, in North Carolina, up north. It's one of those trees, if you can grow Japanese maples, Osakazuki is going to give you something special.
And it's one that will trick me each and every season. It does typically go to a darker maroon right before it brightens up to the bright red. And so if you see it going to the dark maroon, get ready, get your glasses on, because it's about to brighten up your landscape with that fall color. I mean, Osakazuki, one of the best fall colors. We recently did a top 100 best fall colors of Japanese maples?
Oh yeah, you have to listen to that one to see where it comes in.
And it's towards the top because it is one of the best when it comes to the fall colors. I know many nurserymen would say it's their very best fall color overall. And it's a green upright that gives you that summery feel in the landscape. It's got those large leaves, those Aminum style foliage, and then amazing fall color.
All right, this next one snuck in on me. I did not expect at number 35, Acer palmatum filigree. I love the plant, but it has shocked me to know that beat Osakazuki in 2023 for sales.
This was one of the trees that Dad started growing early on. This was one of his first probably 10 cultivars here at MrMaple. Well, back then it was called Nichols Nursery. And Dad loved filigree. He planted one right as you're going up to his porch. It needs some protection from the hot afternoon sun in most growing conditions. And that's because it is a reticulated, variegated, lace leaf green Japanese maple.
Right. You could throw this one in that ghost-like category because you give this one some shade, it'll give you a little bit of what you like about Sister Ghost. You get that creamy, swirling variegation in there. I love it. It's really interesting. It's got that reticulation going on. Every little leaf looks like you etched it out. And pretty cool. I mean, especially as you get a mature, when you get some larger size leaves on these, you can really look in there at that variegation in the early spring. Kind of gives it a quality that makes it glow a little bit. I mean, it really makes it look like you lit this one up. It looks a little more picked up than your typical green.
J.D. Vertrees describes it as white flecking. And I think Matt describes it a little bit better because it is more prominent than just white flecking.
Thanks, Tim. I think I do better too.
It's more like a ghost-like variegation that's really strong in the early spring, where you see white inside of a green leaf, or sometimes green inside of a white leaf. It is outstanding. And for a lace leaf, it's a slow grower. So it's going to reach 3 to 4 feet in height by 3 to 4 foot in width in 10 years. I know that for years, the book on Japanese maples actually says, oh, I saw one that was 9 feet. So I'm going to update it to say that this is a 9-foot tree. Well, you can high graft a tree
right
onto a really large Japanese maple with a thick trunk and make a dwarf a giant.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But that's not very typical.
Great friends of Peter Gregory, and he kind of went by the model J.D. Vertrees did. We disagree a little bit with the books. Peter was a good friend of mine, but since he came from a species background, the largest one he'd ever seen is how big it got. Because if you're identifying plants in the wild, well, that's the biggest, Acer grisseum ever seen in the wild. So it could get that big. But in a garden, it's not really true. And since we're grafting these, if you graft a tree at 8 feet that only gets 3 to 4 feet tall, I mean, you've significantly changed the trajectory of this thing's height. Typically, we only high graft around 14 inches up, so it doesn't affect the size too much. So if you see these as high grafts, they're not going to get 8 feet. But typically, a low graft or a high graft are done, within 14 to 18 inches of each other. So they're not that big a difference. But there's nothing stopping you from grafting a dwarf tree on a very old specimen.
And I think when we talk about trees in a 10-year or 15-year size, it gives you a more accurate representation of a tree's mature size.
Right. And the goal there is to give you the most honest answer. That's the point.
And mature is a made-up number, obviously. But whenever you put a time frame on it, you can start to understand in the length of time that you're looking at and the length of time that you're thinking how big this tree may actually get.
Most places that sell plants use the term maturity to lie to you. That's what they do. I hate to tell you. It's like free shipping. It's a lie, y'all. All right. So at maturity typically means, it's this big at maturity. Well, guess what? It gets bigger than that because plants never quit growing. So what is at maturity when it seeds? What is at maturity after 10 years? No one's ever explained to me what at maturity means because it's a vague reference that they can always move the line's moving on you, right? So what we try to say is, okay, forget all that terminology. We're going to give you an exact measurement, and it's not going to be exact. I mean, they could grow different in different conditions, but in a 10-year expectancy, this is what you should expect in that kind of time frame. So it's the most honest answer we can put out there, and we hope you appreciate it.
And filigree is one of the slowest growing weeping lace leaves. We've got one at Maplewood Gardens that's roughly, 20 years old, and it is still small and compact, just like we assumed. And it is an amazing plant that is very different, but if you give it that protection from the hot afternoon sun, it's going to rock it out.
So now that we've said J.D. Vertrees is wrong, let's brag on one of his trees. Coming here at number 34, y'all, we got a tree named by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Acer palmatum kamigata.
Now, Kama is actually like a scythe that you use to cut grass, and gata means shape. And
I think we've got this one wrong for forever until this year.
And if you put that together, it means like the shape of a scythe that you're cutting grass with. And that's what kamigata actually means.
A lot of these interpretations, Romanji is really the way it sounded when someone said it in Japanese, and then an American translated it into a phonically sounding name. And so Romanji is just made up sounds, really, right? I mean, it's supposed to be a phonic representation in Roman characters of a Japanese word. So it's you're already behind the gun on the interpretation there. Like, it's a hard thing to get correct. And for a lot of these, you almost have to talk to someone who understands horticulture as well as Japanese.
And Kamagata is a selection by J.D. Veritrees that has that unique leaf shape that's really sharp. And you see why I would get that name of...
Kind of looks like a little sickle.
Yeah, looking like a little sickle. And it is very dense, compact. It's extremely hardy. That's one of the reasons I love this selection. And we've got one at Maplewood Gardens on the southwest exposure where you get hot baking sun.
Next to a brick chimney.
Against a brick wall. And you get that brick chimney radiating heat off of it. And Kamagata thrives and does well in that high heat setting.
This thing is durable. It's interesting. Veritrees is listed as great for rock gardens because of its durability. So if you're putting a bunch of rocks around something that's radiating heat, it's got to be pretty tough. Guys, it doesn't stop for interest either. I mean, it has a purple border to these jagged leaves in the early spring. It's a small, compact tree. Again, you get a 50, 60-year-old tree that can get kind of bigger, but it is a beautiful tree and one that kind of brings it for that lush green midsummer, golden yellows on oranges in the fall. Really a great overall plant. Would be a really good one for bonsai as well.
Yeah, J.D. Veritrees actually noted that this is one that he could do from rooted cutting. So you could take one of our grafted trees and do a lot of rooted cuttings off of some of our 1 gallons, plant it in the ground, and you've got your material there to make lots of bonsais of Kamagata with.
Yeah, we always try to let you guys know, like we keep saying we give you that insider information. We'll even tell you when trees we know are good to root. And that's something that you can use to create your own material from going forward. All right, coming in here at number 33, another kind of dope one for bonsai here. I'm shocked to see it this high on the list, though. Acer palmatum Hime Sojo.
This is a dwarf red. And Hime, meaning dwarf compact princess, and Sojo, meaning deep red.
Great plant. This one is truly the red form that matches some of those Kiyohimes in their shape. It's low and spreading. It's going to make a low, small canopy unless you stake it up. You can play with the shape on this one a good bit. I've seen these staked up into small tree forms. They don't want to do that naturally on their own. If you don't stake this tree, it's going to be a lot more like Murasaki Kiyohime in its shape. It's going to be short and spreading. It's interesting, though. I have seen it staked into a small upright tree and completely form changed on it. A unique plant, though, with very small red foliage. That foliage mimics a lot of that of other Kiyohime styles for its size. I think making it the perfect pairing with some of those Kiyohime collections. If you want to add some bright red in there, Hime Sojo is going to do that. And it's got the dwarfness of those, but also that Sojo, that bright red.
Many people say red Japanese maples need sunlight to really peak up the red colors. One of the unique characteristics about Hime Sojo is that it can hold its red color even in deeper shade. And this means it's a red dwarf that can go in those shadier situations and still give you some good red color. It's a newer selection that was brought from Japan about 2008 and is really starting to hit the scene, as you can see here, coming in at number 33.
All right, we got an oldie but a classic here at number 32. Acer Shirasawanum Aureum.
Y'all, Acer Shirasawanum Aureum, the golden full moon Japanese maple. This tree is electric. It gives you that yellow color that I love. It gives you the full moon style foliage. And it is just exceptional in each and every way. One
of the quintessential Acer Shirasawanum leaves. It's got that round, full leaf to it. Great plant. You've heard me tell a story before. The first one to be called Aureum is actually there at Esveld Plantinium. Seabold supposedly sailed up and threw the tree out there on the shore. Notorious optometrist who would go around and kind of steal plants in Asian countries and then bring them back to Holland. But he's responsible for so many cool plants that wouldn't be around without him. Now, there's a great form of Aureum in Japan today. Now, is that the same form? I don't know. Maybe it made its way back over the last 200 plus years.
I heard a rumor on somewhere that the original name was Kinkan Curry.
Yeah, and it may be. So here's the question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? There's certainly many great plants that got to Japan with Latin names and then made it back to Japan and then were named Japanese names. So who knows at this point? It's been around 200 plus years. The most correct name we know is that Acer Shirasawanum Aureum, although Kinkan Curry certainly looks like the same plant to me.
Yeah, I mean, if you heard that rumor, it's because you probably heard it on the Mr. Maple show. We do a lot of research on each of these plants. And when we're in Japan and talking to people and they say, oh, Kinkinkuri, do you have this? And we look at it and we're like, that looks just like Aureum.
Yep.
I mean, that's where we sort of get that information. We have Kinkinkuri here, and I haven't been producing it because it looks like the darn same thing.
Yeah, great plant too, though. And you can see why Aureum's so high on our list. Great overall colors to it, really interesting, and one we can't do enough of. I mean, people really respond to those Acer Shurasolemnums. Always popular here.
I think Dr. Michael Durr made it extremely popular. He put it in his book and said, this tree is outstanding, and everybody started looking for it. Mm-hmm. And they said, I want the golden full moon Japanese maple. And Aureum, it's just so beautiful. The bright yellow color, give it some protection from the hot afternoon sun, put it in a container, find its happy spot, then plant it. Dappled shade, high canopy shade, or morning sun, afternoon shade. Really some of the best places to put that, the best environments for it. Aureum is one of those trees that will light up your garden.
All right, coming in here at number 31. If you get drunk and you end up the next day with a tattoo you didn't know you were going to have, I hope it's a tattoo from MrMaple.com. We got Acer Palmatum tattoo.
Y'all, we're talking about the good tattoo, not the bad tattoo. There is a Kiyohime style that we've often referred to as bad tattoo.
It's actually a pretty cool plant, but bad tattoo is a funny name on it.
But tattoo we're talking about has that Makawa-like structure, a little more ruffle to the foliage, and it's more dense and compact.
You know, if I ever got a tattoo, I was going to get crop circles and then just say I didn't know how I got there.
With tattoo, you've made so many reference jokes to which video it was actually from. I forget.
I got a lot of good I got a lot of good comments on our videos. I was kind of trolling some of the older viewers because I'd say like, tattoo, he was that little guy on Gilligan's Island.
Love Boat or...
It's actually Fantasy Island.
There we go.
It's actually Fantasy Island. I know the right answer. It was before my time. I know the right answer, but
I've almost forgotten the original place it was from.
And certainly this tree was a tree from Red Maple Nursery. So Dick Wolf kind of made this one popular. And the name does come from that guy of the smaller stature.
And every time my dad hears tattoo, he starts going, diplane, diplane.
It's like clockwork. You can't know that and not start doing that. So if you bring that up to anybody, that's exactly what happens. Again, a little before my time. I never really watched that much Gilligan's Island as a younger guy.
All right, guys. Coming in at number 30, we've got Acer Palmatum Red Dragon.
Oh, another one by Red Maple Nurseries. That popular tree for a good reason. Red Dragon. That always brings it. Now, it will blow your mind. Take the leaf, turn it sideways, and make the back two petioles stick up. It looks like a Chinese dragon's head. That's where it actually gets the name. The leaf shape itself kind of looks like a bearded Chinese dragon. And it's red, so it perfectly fits that.
Mind blown.
A lot of people think this one came from New Zealand because other nurseries kind of took this one and ran with it and produced more of them than Dick Wolf. But it actually originated there with Dick Wolf at Red Maple Nurseries. Really a great red lace leaf. Part of the popularity of this one, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's a good plant. I'm not down on the plant. Part of the popularity with this one is people can say it. So you could say, hey, Grandma, I got your red dragon. And Grandma could say, thanks, I love my red dragon. And there's no like Romanji involved there. So it's one that Americans could say. It's easy to pronounce. And it's a good name. And it's a good plant too, though.
I like red dragon because it is the fire glow of red lace leaves. If you put this tree with sunlight, this tree will get an orange red to the backside of the foliage. And so when it's blowing in the wind, it has a glowing effect to it. So it looks even brighter than it actually is. And that makes it an additional really unique tree out there in the garden because it doesn't look like just your typical maroon. When that wind's blowing and you can see with sunlight hitting it, that orange-red backside of the foliage, it looks even brighter red than many of your other red lace leaves.
Take your grandkid, take your son or daughter out there, take them to your red dragon, pull a leaf off of it in the spring and turn it sideways. Let those two little back petioles stack up and show them that it looks like a bearded dragon. They're going to think that's so cool. That's something they're going to remember, and then they're going to really want to watch that tree.
Now, I like red dragon because it is a slower growing red lace leaf. It's not as fast growing as something like a Tamukiyama or an Abashidari.
Well, I think you nailed it. It's the fire glow of lace leaves.
And it fits in those smaller spaces because of that. So that's a cool tree that you should definitely try out if you haven't.
Man, coming in here at number 29, we are getting into some hitters, y'all. Acer Palmatum Lillian's Jewel. Now, this is one you've heard us talk about this tree probably to no end because it ends up on every one of our lists for flash. It's no shock that it ended up on a list for top sales of 2023. I'm actually shocked it's not higher up because we sell a ton of this tree, especially in person. Lillian's Jewel is one of the best examples of a pink on dark red Japanese maple.
It is outstanding. A selection by Jonathan Savlich, named after his daughter, Lillian. And Lillian's Jewel is the correct name. It has been marketed under the name of Extravaganza.
No, it's not.
What?
When people say it's Extravaganza, say, no, it's not.
Oh, yeah. Definitely say, no, it's not. And it's also been marketed under the name of Little Annie's Jewel.
No, it's not.
The correct name is Lillian's Jewel.
Yes, it is.
So make sure you correct them because we got to get this straightened out. If someone names this after their kid and finds such a cool plant, they get credit for it.
Yes. Guys, this plant is incredible. It's awesome. I got daughters. I'm not going to let somebody go around renaming a tree. If I name a tree after one of my daughters, doggone it, it better stay that way. So awesome plant. Lillian's Jewel, just a showstopper. It is one of the best colors you'll ever see. It's also one of the strongest variegations. So this one actually originated from seed, making it more stable than a variegated sport. And it's just a great plant. You know, if we graft a couple hundred of these, we may have a couple that revert and are all red, but it's rare. It's very rare. I mean, you'll have way more of other styles of pink on red revert than this. You want to remove any of all one color dark red leaf you have. So you don't want to keep a leaf that's all dark red. So if you see all dark red, remove that. This one rarely, if ever, has reversion to it, though. It's the most stable of this form, and it's one of the most shocking trees of this form, too. When people see this one, they have an emotional, like a guttural reaction to it. People are like, oh my gosh.
What about those specimens at Buckholt's Nursery?
Yeah, we got a video coming out, guys. If it hadn't already hit by the time you see this podcast, where we look at some of the biggest Lillian's Jewel. They're bigger than the original. They grow them big out there at Buckholt's Nursery. That's a good growing environment. They have some massive specimens of Lillian's Jewel. And I mean, we stopped and did a video with them because our eyes were bugging out.
This is a tree that is perhaps one of the most showy and spectacular Japanese maples of them all. If you like that extra flair, if you're one of those people at Chotsky's that would have had tons
more
of
flair
all over your vest, this tree's for you. It's for your garden because it's a rock star.
All right, y'all, another flashy flair tree coming in. Ric Flair here himself, the nature boy. Number 28, we got Acer palmatum Ukigumo. Now, Ukigumo is a floating cloud Japanese maple, and it does bring it for the flash. I actually had somebody just the other day comment, when are you ever going to bring back Ukigumo? I'm like, we've had it a lot this year. And they're like, really? Well, it's in our top sales items of 2023. Yeah, we've had it a lot. It has been one that we sell a ton of here. It is one of those trees that's a little inconsistent on the spring color. I always like to let people know. It says it even in our description. This one, in some conditions, will leaf out more greener. What you want to have is a slow leaf out on this one. Now, people say, what do you mean by having a slow leaf out? Sometimes you can't control that. So some springs are going to be hot and muggy right out the gate, and it's going to green up quicker. But when you get a season where this leafs out slowly, you don't want to over-fertilize it, you don't push the tree to leaf out. You know, I have mine in a high oak canopy here in the south. That high oak canopy gives that thing enough cover that by the time it leafs out, it's very consistently white, and I get great color on it.
And it is called the floating clouds maple because in the years it does give you white. It can be one of the most outrageous trees in the garden because, I mean, who doesn't want a white tree in their garden? It contrasts with everything else because nothing else is white like that. And Ukigumo does that in an upright tree. And the years it doesn't, it still gives you a nice green upright that can give you a really nice shade of yellows to orange.
All right, y'all, coming in here at number 27, we got our first non-cultivar on the list. What in the heck? People say, when are you going to do some stuff for us bonsai guys? Well, this is it, y'all. We got Acer palmatum. These are Makawa Yatsubusa seedlings. So these are seedlings from Makawa. Now, we give these out as a grab bag. We'll have these at open house, and people went nuts because they're pinks, there's yellows, there's oranges, there's reds, there's greens with orange petioles. There's all kinds of crazy
small
variants.
Leaves.
There's all kinds of variants in this.
More small and compact forms. There's narrow forms. I mean, you name it when it comes to Makawa Yatsubusa seedlings, and you can find variability in it. And I think that's what people are interested in.
Yeah, it's really interesting and cool. We don't pick these out. So we have these available and you say, hey, I want a red one. We have distinguished them of times. We have listed the red ones and the green ones sometimes differently, but it's kind of a grab bag of colors and there's so much going on. Most of our Makawa Yatsubusa seedlings are from that giant Makawa at the Buckholtz Gardens. Go check out our video we did on that. That tree lends us a lot of seedlings. And now that we've owned that tree, we're going to be producing more from it. So if you missed out on this one before, they'll be back. It's shocking to see a seedling of a cultivar get all the way up to number 27 on our most popular trees list. We had thousands of them, and they go quickly, and they are amazing. They're really fun. Now, the one common denominator that every single one of our Makawa seedlings has, we sort out any that don't have that dense trait to them. So what these are going to have is a habit that mimics Makawa Yetsubusa. After that, there's a ton of variability.
And we just potted up about 6,000 to 8,000 of these at the Buckholtz farm.
Oh yeah, oh man, if I threw some photos out, guys, there's some variegated pinks. Oh my gosh, there's so many cool color variances going on there. We found our own variants on this that became Red Panda. We found our own variants off of our own trees here that became Koi. We love going through Makawa Yetsubusa seedlings looking for new cultivars. And apparently you guys do too, because we send out some that honestly could be named. Sometimes I wish we waited until spring every single time before we list these, because I want to review the colors on them again.
They're not evaluated long enough.
There are ones that we've sold here this year. They got this one up that probably should have gotten evaluated.
And guys, we're going to keep bringing those Makawa Yetsubusa seedlings because they're fun.
And they're great for bonsai.
They're great if you just want to add a Makawa type in your garden that's from seed. They could have variability. They could have different colors from apricot to orange to red. To green. There's so many things that are just cool about Makawa Yetsubusa seedlings. And if you love Makawa Yetsubusa seedlings, they're pretty awesome too.
All right. We're down to number 26 on the list for the day, and we are at Acer palmatum dissectum Hanamatoi.
Y'all, this is a selection by Yataka Tanaka at Tsukasa Maple.
Drop the mic.
He is amazing. He has selected so many amazing plants when it comes to Japanese maples. He's kind of like us. He has a large variety of a lot of different varieties of Japanese maples in Japan. And he likes the flair. He likes the variegation.
People will straight tell you, like people that are in the Japanese garden, they'll be like, the Japanese don't like all these flashy cultivars. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Have you been to Japan? It's just like in America. They're all different tastes, right? They're all different styles, just like any culture. I know some people in Japan that got the dopest, coolest maples there are on the planet. And if I go there, tell me Hanamatoi ain't flashy.
And we for years tried to figure out what Hanamatoi was. Apparently during the Edo period, the firemen, they were the cool guys. They were the people everyone looked up to during the Edo period because everything's made out of bamboo and wood. And when a fire happens, they're the people that come and save the day. Well, in front of the firemen are these mop-like totems, and they call them matois. They're used today in a lot of celebrations, and that's what matoi is. It's a mop-like totem, and then hana means flower. So you got a flower totem, and that's what Hanamatoi looks like. It has this weeping umbrella habit to it with pink variegation on top of red. It looks like it's got flowers on a weeping red Japanese maple.
Yeah, if everything's made out of bamboo, paper, and wood, I mean, the samurai's got the poster of the fireman on the wall. That's everybody's hero, right? That's the guy that saves the day, really, when there's fires. Saves the whole village from going down. Such a cool plant. Hanamatoi, Yano-san says it may be the best variegated lace leaf of all time. Hard to argue with Yano there. He knows his stuff. An amazing plant, high flash. Everything you like about Lillian's Jewels sometimes in a lace leaf form. So people even confuse the two sometimes, but one's an upright and one's a weeper. And this is going to have bright pink on dark red variegation. Now, if you got this one heavy shade, it actually changes a good bit. You're going to have pink and green and white. So little color variability there. I find that it can handle a good bit of sun. You do want to cut out any of the all reversion on this one. So one thing about MrMaple, we send you great versions of these. We send you ones that have been extremely variegated, strongly variegated forms. We're not going to send you an all, dark red one and tell you it's a Hanamatoi. We're going to send you something that looks like what you want it to look like.
Now, Hanamatoi is exceptional. And if you put this tree out in the sunlight, you get even more intense red colors. If you bring it towards the shade, you get green with pink and white variegation on it. It is one of those plants that when it came to America, people could not believe how exceptional and amazing this tree was because it is a variegated red lace leaf. And I guess its competitor is probably pink ballerina. I mean, pink ballerina might have made the list if we had been able to produce more.
Not quite as vigorous, though. Hanamatoi definitely outgrows it. Like, the two are similar. I've seen the original pink ballerina there. They're definitely not the same plant. But I will say there's a reason, too, why Hanamatoi wins is because it's more of a production level plant. Like, it grows a lot faster and a lot more vigor, where pink ballerina doesn't have the vigor that Hanamatoi has.
Well, y'all, that was our 50 through number 26 on our top sales of Japanese maples in 2023. Guys, if you want to hear 25 through number 1, tune in next week to the same bat time and same bat channel.
Same Maple Network, same Maple Brothers. Guys, we love doing this weekly podcast for you guys. It's a passion project of ours. We appreciate you supporting us through shopping on MrMaple.com. We'll continue to put out maple-related content for you plant geeks. If it's something you love, join that Maple Mafia. You can always go and share your fun stuff in Mr. Maple Friends. That's our Facebook group, Mr. Maple Friends. Check us out on YouTube if you're an audio listener. We have a whole chat going every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. These podcasts air on YouTube on the Mr. Maple Show, and those guys are wild. They keep that chat going. There's so much fun conversation going on in there. It's something you want to be a part of. Our videos premiere every single day on YouTube at 9, and that's just a great time to hop in there and join that Maple community.
Well, we really appreciate you. We really appreciate our international listeners as well. And y'all, we can't thank so much y'all for being a part of our passion and what we love.
Okay, Yoda. We can't thank so much, y'all. Southern Yoda over here. We appreciate you guys so much. You've made 2023 just an outstanding pinnacle year for us. So we count down our top plants in 2023. I can't stop but say, see, now I'm doing it. I can't help but stop and say thank you, because we did historic things this year in sales at Mr. Maple. You guys shopping with us, buying these very trees that we're talking about on this list, are why we were able to purchase Buckholtz Nursery and keep growing our business, keep doing more content like this. So big thank you to everybody listening.
Take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.